pictures up, quiet please. It's time for another episode of the Rule Thirds podcast right here on YouTube.com. My name is Max.
My name is Sean.
And
Larry's he's not here.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Just I had to finish it up right away. It was also sad to hear you say on YouTube.com. We haven't mentioned it for, it's been like a month and a half, and I keep forgetting to bring it up, but a moment of silence for the website of rulethirds.com. It's quite sad, but we decided it wasn't worth, the money to host it. It's on iTunes, it's on YouTube. We just kind of let it go. So it's no longer there. So sorry, but we still have the domain name, so if we ever need it again, we can just throw it back up, and the template's saved. Like it's not dead permanently, but it's not there. So
I like how I introduced it with YouTube.com as if it was like not the fourth most popular website in the world.
It's like YouTube.
YouTube.com, if you may have heard of it, it's
no, they're
site.
Sponsoring. We're YouTube. We work for YouTube. This is their movie podcast. It's on YouTube.com. Yeah.
Anyway, how are you, Sean?
Good.
Actually, no, I want to say something first.
Okay.
I miss video games, Sean.
I know. I saw on Twitter, and it's been like, 24 hours?
No, it's been like 17 hours.
Oh, God.
Basically, I made a public promise, which I guess is a thing I'm calling it now, wherein I took all my video game consoles, and my TV for that matter, and hid it away until I'm done with my senior thesis, because video games were becoming way too distracting for me. Even though I know that's my fault, and I could just put down the controller, I just still,
No, I get
I'm
it.
not good with moderation.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's you don't want the temptation even there. You remove
temptation is a sin, as you all know.
Yes, it is known. I mean, I haven't played video games in a while. The last video game I played really was when I beat Sonic 06. That was fun.
You beat, really?
Yeah, my roommate and I went through all 3 campaigns and the final chapter. It is terrible.
Listen, I'm going to do attention on this, but you have no idea how excited I was for that game when I played it for the first time.
Are you serious? Wait, we have to talk sometime, because my roommate keep talking like, wow, imagine if you were excited for this garbage.
I was,
okay,
because
Max?
I was a Sonic fan back in the day. All right,
we will talk
I know
about
this is a movie podcast,
for sure. We will talk about that.
Definitely, because anyway, so Sean, how are you actually?
I'm good. I've had a really nice semester where I'm pretty much in one real class, and that's my senior film as well, and I'm editing a script that was written in my screenwriting class last semester. I really liked the project. Then I get to write my own stuff, have some scripts going. I'm at like page 37 pages so far on what I'm writing. I'm making some videos coming up. I don't know if my announcement will be up by the time this goes up, so I won't say what. So it's been a really fun semester. We get to kind of run my own show. I get to do the stuff I want. But yeah, it's starting to heat up, especially since my production that I'm involved with is shooting in a week, so I'll start getting footage quick. So
nice. Usually we go now to the community segment, but because you haven't heard from us in a while, I want to ask Sean, have you seen any movies, maybe like any recent movies? Like on Blu-ray or in the theaters or anything like that we haven't gotten a chance to talk about on the show.
Well, the last podcast I said one of the first movies we talked about, probably the first movie we talked about, was saying, I will have seen it by the time you listen to this, and that's Michael Bay's 13 Hours. Fun story. I went to the theater with my roommate, and we were standing in line for 13 hours, and I turned to him and said, you know what? At this point, I'd honestly prefer to see Star Wars. And he said, me too. So we went to Star Wars instead, because we decided we saw reviews were mediocre. It's like, that's no fun. We wanted a complete disaster. I don't want competence. Come on. So we jumped ship. So I didn't see 13 Hours. That's my interesting story. Outside of that, I saw Fantastic Four again. That was delightful.
Really? Why'd you watch Fantastic Four?
Because my roommate hadn't seen it, and you must experience it.
No, you don't. You mustn't experience it.
I saw The Hateful Eight, and Larry and I disagree on it quite a bit. I found it to be Tarantino's possibly most pointless movie. And
really? Even more so than Jackie Brown?
Well, at least Jackie Brown had a satisfying ending. Like, hey, this character achieved this goal. I couldn't even give you that in Hateful Eight. And then on the positive side, I saw San Andreas again, and it really did strike me. There's something different about that to most disaster movies, and I think it comes down to the characters aren't idiots. And I really respect that, because it's so easy to get drama out of stupid characters that just do stupid stuff and get into trouble. But they didn't do that, and I appreciate that.
Titanic. Anyway, any more movies that you saw?
No, I've unfortunately been pretty low on my movie count in 2016 is quite low. I've seen some TV, and I've been more focused on TV, like finishing up Jessica Jones, all that. So, and I binge watched Doctor Who 5 days before it left Netflix. I learned that it was going to leave, and so I watched 25 episodes in 5 days, so I could finish the run before it left. So that was exciting. That was exciting. Anyway, how about you?
I've seen a few movies. I saw Straight Outta Compton a few weeks ago.
See, I still need to see it.
It's okay. It's good, but oh my god, it's so long. It's okay. It is about 2.5 hours, and then the director's cut is almost 3 hours.
I'm not a fan of biopics because sometimes they meander. Does it meander?
No, but it has a lot of little vignettes in there that I think are good, like are well made, but should have been left out overall. I don't know. It just. Like the ensemble cast is really, really good. The music is really, really good. Just the length is just oh boy, it is an epic. And I don't know if it should have been. I also saw Bridge of Spies.
Okay,
but I didn't actually because I started watching it and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to sleep. So I got up and I walked around the film school because the theater I was screening it in is like in tandem with the film school, so I just walked around there and just thought about things. Yeah, and I came back because it was so.
It's dull. It's so
yeah.
dull. I know.
Yeah.
I thank you. I'm so glad I'm not alone in this. Like, it just doesn't have any stakes.
Maybe I need to watch. Maybe I need to watch it with a better mindset. But oh my goodness gracious me, it was just. Yeah, I also saw Anomalisa.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. Oh my god. We will talk about Anomalisa someday, but Anomalisa really is a movie where the artist was given complete creative control and all of the ups and downs associated with that. I think it does some really ambitious things. I think it does some of the most tasteful intimacy and sex scenes in a movie that I've seen recently, but it also does a lot of very strange things that really, really alienate the viewer, and I think it's, oh boy. I don't know if you'd like it, Sean. I don't know, because the people I watched it with, half of them couldn't stand it, and the other half liked it in concept. I like it in concept as well.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. Those are the movies that I've seen. Anyway, Community's okay. Yeah. I know that we're sort of lagging behind a bit, but today's movie isn't exactly super hyped up.
Right.
But so we're just kind of taking our time with this. Intro. Sean, what's going on with the Community?
Well, I mean, it was forever ago, so we've had time for comments. It's just Whitley and Seth talking about the movies of last year, the movies that they liked. Seth only saw 6 films of 2015, which makes me really sad. I had 42 on my list. And from least to most favorite, Jurassic World. So there we go. There you go, Max. You agree? That's his least favorite. Avengers: Age of Ultron. There you go. I don't agree at all. The Peanuts movie, Ant-Man, and Star Wars: Force Awakens, and Trumbo at the top. And then
at the top of
at the best at the top.
He put Age of Ultron at the bottom.
Second to bottom after Jurassic World, and putting Ant-Man above.
Age of Ultron has not gone anywhere with critics or anything like that. It's just kind of yeah.
It was great. Anyway, Whitley says. Doesn't Paul? I think actually no, never mind. He's talking about movies coming out, and I'm gonna just blow your mind. They're from Japan. They're animated Japanese films. Just gonna blow your mind. I know. Particularly excited for Only Yesterday, The Boy and the Beast, and that's what he says. I've never heard of them. Can't really comment.
We are stupid Americans, basically. Anyway, that's all?
That is a Community segment. Yes.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just put this here because we're talking about the Community. The question is, what did you think of the movie that we're going to talk about today? And that movie we're talking about today is Hail, Caesar.
Yep.
Fun fact, they actually changed the title from Hail Caesar to Hail Caesar.
Yeah, so wait, are you supposed to say it Hail Caesar or Hail Caesar?
I think it's Hail Caesar because they deliberately put a comma in there. I don't...
I call it Hail Caesar. Anyway.
Yeah. And, so we're just going to talk about this movie, and we're going to start, as always, with our thesis statements, which are spoiler-free, and then once we're done with that and we give our scores, we head into the spoiler-filled review. Yes. So, Sean, what is your thesis statement?
Hail Caesar is confusing, and I don't mean that in just the plot sense, though there are certainly times where I have no idea who they're talking about. There's 20 different guys with the exact same sounding name, and it's just, I don't know who you're talking to, talking about, make it clear. It's more so that, at its core, Hail Caesar is a very simple, almost overly simple story, stated in a almost too on-the-nose way. And yet, everything surrounding it doesn't seem to connect to it at all. And so it's as if the movie wants you to analyze it and figure out how it all connects to the central struggle, and yet its core is so easy to understand and fed to you. It kind of resists any analyzation because of that. So, like 70% of the movie I feel is pointless. And as much as I enjoyed myself, that's a problem. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around it because I can't explain most of the movie and why it's there. I'm gonna do something weird. I don't have a score right now. It's not a cop out. I will have a score at the end, but I want to talk with you, Max. See if you change my mind. Do you one way or the other? Maybe if you contextualize stuff and I realize some stuff, all that. But right now, no score. But I will have one at the end.
I'll stay with that, regardless of my opinion. I'll stay with that so that maybe we can journey together on this.
Oh, so you're not going to give a score? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you should still.
So my thesis statement is: this is my first. This is actually, I know I'm late to the party here, but this is actually my first exposure to the Coen brothers as directors.
Oh.
I don't know if I could have found a worse way to be introduced to them, because Hail Caesar is not a bad movie, but a movie I very much do not like. I don't like how Hail Caesar is so pleased with how little it has to do with anything. I don't like how... I was recently told that filmmakers do meta movies, or that is to say movies about filmmaking, when they've had a lot of experience in the film industry and they want to say something. And my question in tandem to Hail Caesar is, really? That's the best you could do? Like, a bunch of... most of the time, it's just a bunch of people talking about nothing, waxing philosophical about nothing, waxing poetic about nothing. And weird things happen, and it's just not good. It's not... the jokes are funny, and it's a well-shot, well-designed production, and I think it's not even, a badly made film, I don't think, but the entire time, I felt like I was missing out on an inside joke that everybody else got. And I felt left out. And I felt like I was missing something. And I'm a filmmaker, so I can't be missing out on this.
Right, this was made for us. Why are we left out of this?
But I think Hail Caesar, more than anything else, is an example, has some of the worst pacing I've ever seen in a movie, perhaps. Or at least in a long time. It's unfathomably droll. 100 minutes that feel like 4 hours.
It felt really long.
And
I thought IMDb had the wrong runtime.
Yeah, the movie ended, and I was dumbfounded by how angry I was at this movie. Again, I don't think it's a bad film, so that's why I'm not going to give it a score yet. But this movie angers me, and it's not fun.
Okay, I'm glad we're on the same page. And it's funny, when I was thinking, I said, okay, Larry liked it. That's my guess, and I'm excited to see if I'm right on that. But I'm almost positive Larry liked it. B, I could see you going either way. But you were either going to be more negative than me or much more positive. You were not going to be right with me, kind of in this middling. And I was right. You're on the negative side. And when I was hearing you talk, I'm leaning towards that side too. So I say now we get into spoilers. Just go all out and talk about it.
But if it was simple, Sean, it would be different. But it's not. So we're going to talk about it.
Yep. Okay. Where do we begin? Here's the thing.
This is the weird part. So we're going to head into spoiler territory now,
yes.
Even though... Yeah, can I tell you the best part of the whole movie, though?
Sure.
Michael Gambon is the narrator. It was such a listen.
So unnecessary and kind of
it felt unnecessary, yes, but also it was the only thing I was like, oh my god, yes, because listen to me.
Because it's Dumbledore.
Yes. Michael Gambon is the second Dumbledore, the one who played, the man who played Dumbledore from Harry Potter's Prisoner of Azkaban through Deathly Hallows Part 2, sort of, kind of. But, yeah, it's really, I heard that, I'm like, oh my god, it's Dumbledore! And that was the only time in the movie where I was, genuinely, on board. I was like, yes, I like this.
Okay.
Yes, it doesn't really have much of it doesn't mean much, but still, that's just my favorite part of the movie.
Well, I want to say, let's start with the positives. This is funny.
Yeah, there are a lot of funny moments.
There were. And the acting's all good. Yeah, sometimes it's a bit
they work with what they have,
over the top, but I think it fit, especially Channing Tatum.
He was the crowd favorite,
right?
Easily.
That worked. His over the topness worked. Scarlett Johansson kind of felt like a caricature, but she pulled it off. So I don't want to put any of this on the actors or the writing in terms of the dialogue. I kind of want to put all the negative on the point of the movie and what they decided to include.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would even say the dialogue was like sort of meaningless a lot of the time.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of the conversations just kind of meandered. I mean, there's Tarantino-esque, and then there's this. Like, at least with Tarantino, he knows how to, like, pace. At least Tarantino and the actors who work in his movies at least know how to pace themselves. This just feels like people talk, like, saying these crazy sentences without much, like, meaning to them.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up Tarantino, because honestly, this felt like Tarantino. Because Tarantino has a tendency to do a scene because it's a fun scene.
Yeah,
And
I don't mind
he can
that
pull
personally.
that off sometimes. Some movies he can't. Hateful
Yeah.
Eight has a lot of pointless stuff in it.
Django with the KKK thing,
Right.
Like, that
and
whole
that's,
thing.
as amusing as that, that's not one I'd point out. I'd point out more like the double ending. Anyway, so this kind of felt like that, where, why did you do this, Coen Brothers? Because they liked the idea. It's like, fine, but try to tie it in. Because another good thing is, I got what they're saying. I got the point of the movie. Because it's very simple. Do you agree with me on that?
The point of the movie?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if it was complex or simple, but I didn't get the point.
Well,
I was watching the whole time. I was like, what are they talking about?
I don't know how you miss it. It's almost too bluntly stated by when he's
Is it
yelling
about
at
religion and like how people like look to faith and
No, it
I
was
knew there was
just
a lot of
a-
religious symbology, but
Yeah, that was odd. I don't know how to explain that, but basically when he was slapping George Clooney, which was hilarious, he said the picture is value, you have value to the picture, and then he talks to the priest and basically says must do what's right. It was basically someone doubting if they should stick with film, this crazy business of film, because it feels right to have to help make these movies and pieces of art. And it's the confirmation that yes, he should. Like, that was the point of the movie, because our main character was Josh Brolin.
yeah, I will say. And let me just say, Josh Brolin, I think, is the only actor I've ever seen to actually upstage George Clooney.
Yeah,
And make George Clooney whimper. That
Yeah,
was pretty awesome.
That was good. And so basically, here's the thing. That was the point, and I think that was very bluntly stated for you, too much. And I mean, we should probably talk about how anytime there's a movie that's really pro-movie, it comes across as self-serving because the people that made it are movie people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the Coen brothers saying, having their character suffers to put movies on the screen. God, should I continue doing it? I must do it for the art. It feels self-serving. It felt like the Coen
I
brothers
guess
were
I
patting
got
themselves
the
on the
sense that
back.
it was self-serving, but I had no idea what it was. I had no idea what it was self-serving about. I didn't say them. I don't think the movie's about nothing, but I just really didn't get what everybody was like seeing. Like, people tell me, yeah, it's a comedy, and yeah, I was laughing, but I don't know. There's like this one, like, just a lot of the time, the movie just goes with this really strange way of explaining itself and okay, the thing for me is all the religious symbologies everywhere. You see
I honestly
everywhere.
I have no idea what purpose that serves. Is it some sort of parallel
I
to
think
like
it's supposed.
the movie business is your higher purpose? Like, I can get behind
Yeah.
that, but is that the point?
I think it's because you're supposed to put faith in some kind of higher power, the same way you would put faith in some kind of luck to get you through this business.
Because oh, okay, no, I get that. Because when he was deciding,
Maybe I'm grasping for straws here.
well,
though.
okay,
that
that actually makes sense. When he was deciding whether or not to take the other job or to stick with movies, he has a walk through the set and he comes to the set with the crosses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I must continue this hard job. It was basically suffering for the cinema, right? Like the sacrifice. You know? So I think that's what they're going for with the religious symbology. Which, by the way, that makes it worse that it's super self-serving, because it's basically Coen Brothers saying, look at us, we're Jesus. That's basically what I'm getting. We are suffering
you think so?
to bring
I don't think
you...
it's they're looking. I think they're just splitting. Like, look at like this business is as complicated and as controversial and as completely polarizing as religion. And I would maybe agree with that to an extent.
But at the
maybe
same
it's not from a worldwide scale, but from a national scale, maybe.
But then they turn around and make a goofy, not at all grounded in reality Hollywood. They specifically make this very idolized version of what the studio system was. I mean, it's not like it's completely not factual, but it's very romanticized and kind of played up for laughs more than actually historically accurate. And so it's weird that if the point they're trying to make is about the film industry, why did they set it in such a alien film industry to the one that they're in? Like, I can't see how there are any similarities between what they go through as, like, modern filmmakers and, you know, this studio from the 50s. I don't see it.
Yeah, now that we're just talking about this kind of stuff, like, there's one thing in the movie where, I guess somebody who plays Jesus is in the movie Hail Caesar. Hail Caesar is named after the movie that is being made starring George Clooney's character. And we never actually see the face of Jesus.
No.
And I was kind of hoping that the camera would, like, tilt up and we would see, like, Leonardo DiCaprio, some super famous actor as Jesus. But
I thought
do you think... Okay, here's a really strange theory. A film theory. That maybe what they're trying to do with that is, like, show that Jesus was actually sort of there or something?
No,
like,
that's too stupid.
Oh, wait, no. That's right. I just remembered. I stayed through the credits, and at the very end it said, like, this film features no depiction of the Godhead.
I think it's just a joke.
Yeah, and I think that's, like, the whole point, is that, like, one of the conversations in the movie that goes for way too long is between Eddie Maddox, the main character, and four different members of a religion, like, different religions.
Yeah.
And
I thought that was one of the better scenes, for sure.
Yeah, no, that was really funny, especially with the whole, like, you know, when you add the whole conspiracy about how Jews control Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's good. Anyway, can I just say I thought the cinematography was great. Roger Deakins is always delivers.
Yeah, and
if you don't know, Deakins also did Skyfall,
which looks better than Spectre. Sorry, but 100%.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and let's see, he's also done pretty much all the Coen Brothers stuff. It's a really it's really well shot, really well colorized movie.
Yes. On that note, though, and I want to transition to another thing because we kind of talked about earlier the whole movies within movies. The movies within movies were shot really well. I was in a musicals class, and especially Scarlett Johansson's little movie within movie. The water one, swimming. It's basically a dance number in water. It really did remind me of a lot I'd seen in that musicals thing. That was like kind of a subgenre, aquatic pictures, whatever. I think that's what they were called in the movie. But I really wish they had switched cameras. Because that weirded you out too, where it's like we're seeing the old movie and yet it looks exactly like the rest of the movie.
Now that's something I think that's something that, like, I think is worth discussing. So Hail Caesar does a lot of these things with these scenes from different movies that were made back in the 50s,
movies
right?
within movies. Yeah, they had a Western, they had like that musical, they had a period drama, like a high art, people in suits talking about basically Downton Abbey, the subgenre.
Yeah,
and then they had the musical, basically a Gene Kelly musical, and then they had Hail Caesar, like a prestige epic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Basically, okay, so some of the time the cinematography is so authentic. Like the cowboy scene, that was like completely on point. Other times, I would say during the sailor scene, I guess I'll say it, and also like the weird part with like the old man and the moon and the cowboy. Those are shot so contemporarily.
I don't know. I think the cowboy one didn't feel contemporary, but the dancing one definitely did. Like, again, I was in a musical class. I saw, like, I don't know, 10 Gene Kelly movies. The dancing numbers are not cut that quickly and stuff. They're usually, like, think of Singing in the Rain. Like, it's long takes.
I wish they could just, like, I was thinking to myself, okay, they don't have to be authentic. They don't have to do that. Maybe they're just trying to say something about how maybe, movies, even though they come from different times, like, they all look the same or something like that. But no, they keep on, like, dabbing in and out of it. Like, if you're going to go all in, go all in. It's the same problem, actually, with one of the first movies we ever reviewed on a project that we were all involved in, which is Oz the Great and Powerful, wherein...
Well, I didn't review it. I never saw it.
Oh, okay. The first part of the movie is shot in 4:3 black and white.
Yeah, which is cool.
Which is cool, but it, like, the cinematography is just 2013 cinematography. Like, it's just... And, like, it's totally like, oh, it's just totally alienating. So it's the same idea. If you're gonna go all out and try and make it look classical... Go all out and make it look classical. Don't, like, Roger Deakins is really good. I wonder if he was like, guys, maybe we should make this more like it used to look like, if that's the whole point of this thing. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I just wanted to bring it up. Let's see. Do you want to talk about the plot?
Yeah, because again, here's the basic, like, here's kind of what I got from the movie. They want to make a movie about, kind of a boss at an old Hollywood studio trying to make his way through the hijinks of his cast and crew while he's deciding whether or not he should stay with his crazy life. Like, that sounds like a totally like, oh yeah, no, that all fits. And so you make that core story, and then sure enough, you show some of the hijinks that, he has to deal with. The problem is that the hijinks don't relate at all. They feel so tacked on, and they're sidetracked, And so the plot is like a 40-minute movie. And then they have another hour of just Scarlett Johansson's pregnancy resulting in her marrying Jonah Hill for no reason.
Yeah.
And and like, it really bothered me. It's like, this is the thing that I will say is it's weak. This is bad storytelling. Tilda Swinton's character, right, is bothering about this like speculation.
Characters, to be fair.
Right, characters. But one of them was pushing about this Wings of Eagles, right? This like mysterious scandal about this movie, and it was like built up for the entire film. And then at the end, it's resulted with the main character just saying, oh yes, here's what happened, and here's how it links to this story. By the way, this unrelated character was also involved, and that's why it's resolved. It's like, wow. You just, like, in one passing line of dialogue, wrapped up the main mystery of your movie. That's terrible.
They also did that with the Scarlett Johansson character. They resolved that whole conflict of like, oh yeah, she just got married to Jonah Hill.
Yeah, like they hinted at it with Jonah Hill's scene, but then that's weak. Like that's bad. That is
all
bad
of this movie's resolution is based on hearsay, not based on visual connection.
And that's
like we just said like, oh yeah, you just had like just go with it. Like they went and got married,
right?
Or they sodomy. Like that's what happened. Like it's not like there's no visual like connect. Like there's no way to actually prove any of this happened, which might also be part of the point.
No, then that's a bad point. So here's kind of like based off that. This is disappointing because as I was watching the movie, I was thinking, wow, this is so much set up. You got our main story. You got Clooney abducted by communists. You have Scarlett Johansson's pregnancy thing needing to get married. You have this Western star thrown in a fancy picture. The director hated him. Like, all these things are swirling around. This has got to be just a hilarious, all of them colliding in the end. Like, they all come to one head and everything's just, hijinks ensue, basically, where they all crash in at one moment and there's, like, things interacting like Scarlett Johansson has to marry one of the communists and, random things like that where they all just kind of mixed together, and it's hilarious that they all come together, and then they didn't. They all just kind of flopped into a resolution. They just resolved. And that's again, if these were just tiny little side subplots, I'd be more forgiving because we did see the resolution of that main story with Josh Brolin's character. We saw that.
Yeah, it's true.
But when that's only like 40 minutes of the movie and the majority of it is all these side things, they'd better go somewhere outside of just the main character saying, here's how they resolved. Mm-hmm. That's bad. That's bad.
Yeah. Which brings me to my biggest problem with the movie, which is, like, if you've ever wanted to understand what makes good pacing good and what makes bad pacing bad, you watch Hail Caesar because it is it makes you value good pacing. Because this movie just stops. And it stops. And it's not even for a joke or for plot progression or for any sort of, like, thematic detail. People just talk and then they just move on. And it's so aggravating. It's like, we're going to the plot. Whoa, stop. 5 minutes of just talking about nothing.
Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna get and it's so grating. And some of it's one of the absolute worst scenes is a joke between Ray Fiennes and that guy whose name I.
Yep. And that was a trailer.
What?
That scene, the If Only It Were So Simple. That joke?
Oh, I never watched that trailer actually.
But is that the scene
I was told it was just like that, like a whole scene.
Yeah, is that the scene you're talking about?
Yeah, Yes.
That was the entire trailer. Was just that overdone, overly long bit.
Man, I can only imagine what it was like for moviegoers in the trailer.
Yeah.
Just, it was.
It's basically
like that,
the
I was
dark
just
side.
Move it along, guys. This isn't funny anymore. This is like a Saturday Night Live sketch. Like this comedic effect wore off like 5 beats ago.
Yeah,
like,
and it's
moving along.
It's basically like if the Zootopia sloth DMV joke went badly. Like it just keeps going. It's not funny.
Oh my god! Please pull that off, Disney. Please. Anyway, let's see the pacing, and it's not even just with that one joke too. Sometimes so the whole thing. First off, let me just say the first trailer was really well designed and it really enticed me. And maybe that's where a little bit of my anger comes in, because not because like it wasn't as good as the trailer, because this movie wasn't as good as its trailer. It's more so that like it sort of made things look a lot simpler than what they were, which I suppose could be the nature of trailers, because a lot of the time, a lot of trailers are designed to simplify more complicated storylines. But even here, it's like the whole the whole George Clooney's character, Bear Whitlock, getting captured thing, like, that is not really that big of a deal. But, like, people just don't care about it that much.
It's so weird how it doesn't matter. It seems like they took this huge chunk of the movie, they made it the poster, they made it the like point of the trailer, and all it is George Clooney's taken by some group that's never really explained. They're just communists. A few scenes that are completely meaningless of them just talking about like politics or whatever that never factors in, and then Channing Tatum comes in, right, as like this twist, except we'd seen him once and he was in character the entire time, so it isn't a twist.
And that leads to one of the most bizarre scenes of the whole friggin' movie,
which was I like the scene at the submarine.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. That is so meaningless to us because Channing Tatum was in one scene before, and he was acting the whole time. We have no idea what this character is like. So why would we care? Why would we feel any sort of like a shock? And I don't mean that in like, twist. I mean it even in comedy. Like comedy, comedy's all about, defining expectations. We had no expectations. He was just dancing around as basically a Gene Kelly, and he did that really well. I don't want to insult Channing Tatum.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
Yeah,
I will say
and
that.
the submarine scene with him was really great. But in terms of the story, it meant nothing. And I'm like, is that what the entire George Clooney subplot was building to? I guess not, because then it basically built up to Josh Brolin smacking him a bunch, but even that was unnecessary because it hit it in even harder in the confessional scene. So the entire George Clooney thing, the center of your marketing, your biggest star, George Clooney is definitely your biggest, maybe not, maybe Scarlett Johansson, maybe. And a lot of your screen time, probably given the most screen time and the most tedious of your subplots, meant nothing.
I think this movie could have benefited from only following Andy Mannix, just always following him, because I think I don't empathize with his struggle at the very end when he slaps around George Clooney. Like, I don't empathize with that at all.
No, I found it funny. Seeing George Clooney slapped was hilarious because he sold it perfectly. It was so like, it was great. I don't think
I've ever seen George Clooney like that in any movie before.
Yeah, he's always so suave and cool. To see him like being smacked around, and it was great.
Oh, I should also mention that the trailer gives away like the final joke in the movie.
I know,
which really, really bothers me.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Yeah. What was that all about?
Yeah, that's
Also, the whole the beginning of the trailer is the whole you're not that bad. That's like the last scene. Mm-hmm. Like, what the hell? Like, what? Why? Come on. Maybe I guess I know I'm complaining about the trailer.
Well, no, it says something. I'm glad you brought it up. The trailer had to grab from the ending to convince you that the movie had a point. Because it had to jump all the way to the end to get some sort of a point.
Yeah.
That's why they took from the last scene. Because they had to. Ugh.
And like not to mention that like there are a lot of like other really strange like side plots that what this is? I'm starting to finally realize it. This movie's a bunch of side plots with no main plot.
Yeah. Well, okay, no, I think it does have a main plot. I just don't think it ties in at all to the side plots.
All right, I can see that.
Because it does have a main plot. It's undeniably Josh Brolin's main character, and he's decided whether or not to stay in the studio. But that takes up so little of the runtime, it's hard to see sometimes. And it's so overwhelmed by the subplots, the fact that they don't connect to it is really a bad thing. It really does bother me.
Yeah, and like let's not forget like other scenes that totally deserve to be in the movie, like when he went to that, I guess I want to say Chinese restaurant to talk to that guy twice.
Why twice?
And he brings up a picture of the hydrogen bomb. And it's like, what are you talking about?
What did the hydrogen bomb have to do
I'm
with
listening
anything?
to every word you're saying, and I have like maybe this is how the Coen brothers write things.
No.
But at least with Bridge of Spies, I knew what was being talked about.
Well, okay,
like, honestly.
But here's the thing: I haven't seen that much Coen brothers. I'm not an expert at all, but I've seen Fargo. I've seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And I've seen No Country for Old Men. This is the closest to Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Not just because it's George Clooney, but because a lot of stuff in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Didn't feel necessary. It felt like it was there because it was a fun idea and a funny scene. It didn't serve anything. I prefer Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? To this because it has much more of a point, and it's just they're being chased the whole movie, so it has like a push, so it doesn't have the bad pacing. But No Country for Old Men, it does have philosophical stuff. It really does have characters talking about pretty high concept stuff, and it never feels meaningless. They handled it well in No Country for Old Men. And then Fargo was able to be this complete screwball comedy, basically. Dark screwball comedy. But it didn't feel pointless and meandering just for comedy's sake. So it's like all those movies I've seen, this movie had elements of, but failed. And I don't know how they failed here and succeeded in those other three, especially since all three of those were before. You'd think they would have, learned how to do it.
Yeah. And you know what? Let me also talk about something that the trailer put out there. Who Are We? The Future. I loved that. That's like one of the main things that got me like really enticed. And then communists.
Not even that. It doesn't matter. I was expecting it to get wacky. Think about this. What if it was this Coen Brothers about Hollywood and the starlets are acting up and so is drunk. Oh no! And then it turns into this this weird Illuminati group controlling media and stuff. And he has to stop this. What if it got completely out of hand? The future. Mm-hmm. What if it was Illuminati level? Conspiracy mumbo jumbo, and they just go all out with this crazy plot about trying to take over the world, this new world order. That would have been fun if they could pull it off. It would have been hilarious if it just got way out of hand, and Hail Caesar could have been a reference to this, them taking over. They could have gone all out with this.
Yeah,
that's honestly what I was expecting. The future, that's cool. But instead, it's just a group of communists that don't even do anything. And all they do
at first I was like, is this just a movie about how the Coen brothers don't like the WGA? Or what is this all about? And then I remember on the ride home, I was thinking to myself, maybe this movie's too smart for me. Maybe it's like my first viewing of American Hustle. I was like, I like this movie, but I just did not understand it. And I'll be honest, that was my reaction to it at first. But then, to my reaction to American Hustle first. But then I was like, no, because this movie gets to make jokes and it gets to be about, it gets to have this plot about someone being kidnapped and then somebody going to find him, and characters are barely defined. This movie is sloppy, and
it is
people
sloppy.
People defend it oh man, it's a comedy, and comedies are not defined by their sloppiness.
No.
In fact, many comedies have to be even more sharp than the dramas because they have to rely on trying to make people laugh when that is the hardest freaking thing to do other than solve world peace.
And even plot-wise. Honestly, it's weird. I hadn't seen it forever. I'm a fan of South Park, the show. We talked about it in our top three animated TV shows. And I didn't see they made a movie, and I didn't see it for a long time. And when I saw it, and I rewatch it every once in a while because it's very short, very watchable, very funny, it just blows me away how everything is in the right place. It is one of the best constructed comedies I've ever seen. Not even in comedy, in plot. Everything is in place. And it works because of that. Comedies, it doesn't give you an excuse to do something just because it's funny. You're still a movie. You gotta fit it in. And again, Fargo is definitely a comedy. It's dark comedy, but it's a comedy. And I never got that sense from Fargo. So clearly they used to know to make everything fit and have a point. But now they don't. And it's kind of a problem that Tarantino's facing. Maybe when filmmakers become too auteur, too just on their own, doing their own thing, they kind of can get away with this. They can kind of just say, I'm Tarantino, I can just write characters for 3 hours.
I am Tarantino, hear me roar.
Yeah, or the Coen brothers can say, we're the Coen brothers, we can do goofy stuff with big name actors about Hollywood, throw it up on screen, and everyone will love it. Maybe that's it. And you know what, I guess they're right. But
even though it hasn't made back its budget even.
No, well, it's opening weekend, so.
Yeah. Well, Deadpool's going to destroy it.
Deadpool is going to destroy it.
Yeah. It was funny. I remember thinking to myself, I was excited for Hail Caesar. I was like, why is this movie a February release? This is the Coen brothers. The Academy loves these guys. What? What's going on? Considering how many white actors are in this movie, it might have been considered for a Best Picture nom. But there's just so much. Why would this be a February release? And now I understand why.
Because it's not good.
Because it's not good, and it barely has anything. It's again, it feels like a giant inside joke.
Yeah. And
you know what? There's an audience for that. But let me tell you something. I cannot stand fan appeasement and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
like
definitely.
when you make a movie specifically for one very specific group of people, it can be very bad because you don't have to feel like you're, it's not good to please everybody, but you should try your best at least to please somebody.
Because
if you're just trying to please a group of people who will be pleased no matter what you do, you're not going to make anything good because you have no expectations for yourself or the audience that you're doing it for.
Yeah.
This is the problem with the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. One of the worst movies I saw a year ago. Or no, 2 years ago.
It was 2014.
Yeah. So my same argument stands. Everything here is just feels like it's in a place that is not supposed to be found funny by anybody else other than the people who work in Hollywood. Maybe like this movie was pretty low budget. Like this is $22 million. Like that's not bad.
Wow, I didn't know it was that cheap.
Yeah, like maybe this was just supposed to be a lark for the Coen brothers just to say, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just have fun. Because the last movie they made was, I don't remember what it was.
Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yeah, like that was a serious comedy.
Yeah, and apparently very personal.
Poe Dameron and Kylo Ren jamming it out.
Yeah.
Like maybe they just wanted to just hang out with their buddy. I mean, you ever heard of why Adam Sandler does so many of these big comedy movies?
Yeah, to go on vacation.
Yeah, to go on vacation and hang out with his friends. Maybe this is just their version of doing that, and it's like
it's not a bad theory.
And I don't mean this as some kind of attack on the Coen brothers. I'm sure they're good guys. I'm not here to insult fellow directors, but I'm just aggravated because everything here just feels like it just wasn't made for anybody other than a very specific group of people. And I repeat this many times, sorry about that, because that's what was just going through my mind. Like, am I supposed to be laughing at this because I'm a filmmaker, because I'm an audience member? Like, was this made just to be put in theaters just so that somebody could, find it funny at one point? Did the Coen brothers just not care who saw it? They just care about the Hollywood premiere where all their friends would be like, oh yeah, film industry, I get it. I don't know. But this movie is bending my brain in a way that it doesn't deserve to. I don't like that.
Basically what I walked away with was, this is a very loose, sloppy movie, but it felt like it was like that was intentional, and I can't figure out why they would do that.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Because again, it was like the writing was very like, it wasn't like it was. I see, it's weird. On one hand, I agree with what you're saying about how like a lot of things were pointless, but it seemed like everything was there, like that they wanted everything there. Nothing felt pointless on their side, and it, again, great performances. Everyone was fun, and there were really funny scenes. Again, I enjoyed myself while watching, but then nearing the end, when I realized it really wasn't going to wrap up nicely, and it didn't, it started to bother me.
Yeah.
And so the fact that it has a great performances, everything seems like they intentionally put it there. I don't think this was just they failed, made a really messy movie, whatever, everyone's got a bad one in them. It seems like they intentionally decided to focus on all these different side things and not the main. It seems like they actively made these decisions, and I think they're very poor decisions, and I can't explain why they would make them.
You know what? I have a bad feeling that in our last semester of film school, Sean, you and I are probably going to hear about a lot of people who really like this movie.
Yep.
A lot of teachers who like this movie. And we're going to be like, here's a question for you. Who saw Hail Caesar? Who could tell me who the main antagonist of Hail Caesar is? And it's like, I don't care. Like, stop trying to make this movie smarter than what it is.
And it's
like, honestly,
and it's not even a man versus like world, whereas like the Hollywood system stuff. Because while he clashes with it, those were all the subplots with their own like protagonists. So it's not like he had. It's like, are you saying that every single side character was an antagonist? Or are you saying that they made like the world as antagonist? It just dramatically isn't there. Yeah. It just doesn't have a dramatic foundation. Maybe that's the problem at the end of the day. There really isn't any tension that can be held for as long as it feels this movie is.
Yeah, because this movie feels so long.
I know.
Like, I was like, is this going to be another 2.5 hour epic? Like, geez, I've been seeing too many of those.
Yeah, no, seriously. Again, I genuinely checked. Like, did they mess up?
Yeah.
It's like, no, but
now,
Fandango had an hour 40 and
IMDb
had hour 40. It is that short. Did not feel it.
Yeah, I don't mean to say that like having no antagonist is a bad thing, because I forgot to mention this. I saw The Martian a few weeks ago.
Well, yeah, that's
and that movie was great.
Yes,
and because it didn't have an antagonist, that was fine.
Right,
like,
that's
nothing wrong with that.
It has an antagonist in the sense that it's a man versus nature or man versus world story.
Yeah,
and so the antagonist is just the environment, and that's all survival stories basically. Maybe that's why the Revenant
this was supposed
to
be a man versus God story.
But there wasn't any. I don't buy that either because
Yeah, I don't buy it either. I'm just throwing it out
look,
there.
you know what? This should have been a novel. This should have been a book because really, I think the problem is it's something that I'm a TA for intro to screenwriting here at the film school, and the first presentation was how like the first thing you learned was you need to externalize conflict. I don't know if this movie really did.
Yeah,
Because it was all in his head. It was all, do I go?
and yet we didn't see him for a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
We didn't see Andy Mannix a lot of the time. So if it's all in his head, we should follow him around.
Right. So if this was
this guy should be the leading man, not like just another cog of the machine. He should be the guy running this machine because he is running the machine in the story.
yeah, like if we were in his head, like in a novel where we can kind of get his thoughts, and then it goes into these fun vignette chapters with all these side quests, like the actress who's pregnant and is, as a PR move is desperate to get married, and they have this like weird bit about can you adopt your own baby, and then there's this guy, this Western star thrown into a movie, he just doesn't fit in at all and can't get the line right. Like I'd be fine with these vignettes as little chapters in a novel, but in a movie, it feels so pointless.
Yeah, maybe this should have been like a series of short films.
Yeah, honestly,
Like-
it almost does feel like one of those movies, like Four Rooms. You remember that Tarantino worked on it? Have you heard of Four Rooms?
No, I've never heard
It's
of
a
it.
really cool idea, and I like its execution from what I saw. I only saw Tarantino's bit. The idea was they got 4 directors together, and the basic premise of the story was the same like bellman, or whatever it's called, someone who works in this hotel, in one night goes to these 4 different rooms. They had different guests in each room, and each director would write and direct what happened in that room. And so the main character was like the bellhop, and he just went to room 1, who was whatever, room 2, and then one of them was directed by Tarantino, and so he wrote and directed his 25-minute, 30-minute little section of the movie. Like it's a cool idea. It kind of felt like that, where you had a main character. Like I get that he's in all these stories, but then it just kind of jumped between them. But instead of in blocks, they were all jumbled together. And I also noticed it went away from George Clooney for a long time. They would just jump back to him, and then we'd all of a sudden be back with Scarlett Johansson or the Western star. Like it jumped around too much. There were too many subplots, and I think that also hurt the pacing. I realized that near the beginning of the film, it felt like it was doing 5 starting points, and just kept, here's the setup for conflict, and we were 25 minutes into the movie. I'm like, stop setting up stuff. What are you doing? Anyway.
Yeah. I think at this point we're sort of going in circles
this is
here.
good. Yeah.
So we're gonna cut this short because honestly, Hail Caesar I think is perhaps being confusing for the sake of its own weird joke. That friend they have this one joke that they have and they always laugh at it themselves because they think it's just the funniest thing ever, and you're just I don't get it. It's kind of what this movie is, and it's just as obnoxious.
Yeah.
So we're gonna clear it now. So Sean, do you have a score yet?
Yep.
I think I have a score.
Yep. Because I want to be harsher because all the stuff we've talked about are rarely positive, but at the end of the day, it wasn't an unpleasant experience, and there are some very good
that's the thing. I don't think this is a badly made movie.
So I'm not going to call it a bad movie, but I'm going to go as close as I can without calling it bad. So I'm going to be giving Hail Caesar a 4 out of 10. This is a weak film. This is weak.
You know what? I'm gonna jump on in on that. 4 out of 10.
Yep. Great. I'm glad we're on the same page.
I was very angry when the credits rolled. I'm like, really? That's it? That's what you had to say this whole time? Mm-hmm. Thanks, guys. Really?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway.
All right. Anyway, so we're gonna get out of here.
Yep.
We're both. The question, if you didn't hear at the beginning, was, what did you think of Hail Caesar? Did you like it? Didn't like it? Okay. Here's another question. What's your favorite meta film?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite, Sean?
Okay, is it do you mean about movies?
Yeah, a movie about movies.
Well, maybe 22 Jump Street, if that counts, because it's about sequels.
That's.
I mean, it's about sequels.
I mean, a movie that is about the film industry.
About the film industry. I really like The Artist, but I can't really think of many others coming. Oh,
Singing in
you
the
know
Rain?
what? Saving Mr. Banks.
Oh.
Because that speech that Walt gives, Tom Hanks gives, that's what we do. We make... I can't remember the quote. I don't want to misquote. Basically, basically the message of the film at the end when he convinces Travers to let him make the movie was really touching, and it was about movies. It's about the power of story and narrative. So I really gravitated to that. So that's probably my favorite, just for that message at the end.
Yeah. Mine would be Singing in the Rain, without question.
Yeah, Singing in the Rain would be up there.
Oh, Singing in the Rain. Oh, man. Go watch that movie again just for the sake of seeing it again.
It really is amazing, except when it goes to that dream sequence, Broadway, whatever. That's just terrible. Anyway, I wish I could cut that scene out. But yes, Singing in the Rain would be up there. That's a good point.
Anyway, we're gonna get out of here. So until next week when we review that one movie that's coming out, nobody's excited for.
No, what is that? The internet
Literally nobody.
especially just does not care. Snooze.
Death Pond? What's it called?
I don't know. It's some chick flick coming out on Valentine's Day.
Chaos Lake.
I do love that marketing where they're trying to push it as a romantic comedy.
Oh, that's beautiful. I wonder if anybody's gonna actually fall for that.
I know. I hope it tricks someone because that's just hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway, until next time, guys. My name is Max.
And my name is Sean.
Hear us later.